Hello, and welcome to the CX Innovators podcast produced by Networld Media Group. I'm Judy Mottl, editor of Retail Customer Experience. Our podcast is all about talking with innovators, and today's guest fits that definition to the max. I mean, we could spend the entire time just talking with her about her extensive career. And I'm so honored to introduce Sharmeelee Bala, CIO at JCPenney. The retailer is spending more than $1 billion to enhance the customer experience across its 650 stores and e-commerce platform. The immense effort involves everything from optimizing operations to improving digital capabilities and, of course, enhancing the customer experience. So thank you so much for being here, Sharms.
Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here, honestly.
Oh, me too. I mean, JCPenney brings me back to my childhood, and it's just so exciting to be talking with a retailer and its CIO, who also happens to be a woman, which I find phenomenal, right? Um, After decades and decades of being in the retail world, and it's not easy, and the legacy is just phenomenal. So I'm sorry, I'm going to stop my little fan club. Let's start off talking about your career. Because that would be very dismissive if we didn't. Your background is so deep. You've headed up product engineering at Gap. You ran its Hyderabad Development Center in India. You spent over 20 years in many leadership roles at Walmart Labs. So my first question, how is all of that playing into your CIO role today?
Great question. Judy, thank you. I have stayed with retail for a long time, like my entire career, because of the connection I have as a customer, right? It helps me to get that job satisfaction, not just because I'm like working on technology, but it's also because I can actually experience it as a customer too. So it has been a real, it's been truly instrumental for me because of the intersection of retail and technology plays a huge role. This has been like a highlight of my career. I keep learning. At the same time, I can bring something to the table, right? So it's like a combination of both. And that's what has been like more exciting. And technology always excites me. There's so much to learn.
Oh,
There's just so much that comes in every day. And on top of it, how we can use technology to help our customers
right.
always excites me because being selfish, I can also experience it as a customer. So
Right.
it's been, I would say it's been the best highlight for me is learning and at the same time being able to contribute.
Well, and the thing is, retail's always been slighted as an industry that hasn't embraced technology or has been slow. So when you see what JCPenney is doing, it kind of diminishes that claim, once and for all. So you guys are undertaking store refreshes, you're upgrading the website and the mobile app. The list is very long. So as CIO, how are you prioritizing and how does customer experience factor into making those uh, priority decisions?
Yes. Great question. Prioritization has always been difficult wherever you go, right? Because you want to do it all. What I would say is JCPenney's maniacal focus on customer and customer experience has actually helped us make it much more easier and simpler for us to prioritize. So what's important for us is how do we give that experience to our customer,
Right.
whether they are in the stores, whether they are coming online or any way in between, right? So omni-channel, seamless experience is very important. So we are focusing on refreshes. We are focusing on store technology, what we call next generation store technology. We're focusing on our digital space, like making sure that we are transforming our digital experience. At the same time, behind the scenes, right? Because the customers do not directly interact, but how do we focus on our supply chain efficiencies, right? How do I bring the right product at the right time to the right place at the right price, right? Because at the end of the day, that's all experience for the customer. And we have a lot of innovative implementations and investments going on in our supply chain arena too, making sure that we are putting everything together so that ultimately customers win. So making sure that we are there for the customer, making sure that we can actually show them the value we bring to the table for our customer has been our focus. And so prioritization is based on that customer lens. Does it make a difference for the customer? And then we also focus on, and there are some things that I have to do today so that I can bring that experience tomorrow. So
Right.
how do I balance between some of the foundational platform work that needs to be done, so that I'm looking at not just short term, but also balancing it with the long term strategy. So that's how we have been able to play with prioritizing in individual areas and then as an enterprise together. But the focus has always been on customers.
And it's funny, in the interview we did for retailcustomerexperience.com, you did talk a bit about building that strong foundation and setting high standards for data management, which plays a big role. So,
Mhm.
can you talk a little bit about those standards and maybe what JCPenney's is doing to be more efficient as an organization?
For sure, being data driven is very important. And everything that I spoke about, right? Like your question about what are we doing and how are we doing, being a data driven organization focusing on customer is easy, and it's also not easy
Right.
because we all have data. We all have rich data, right? Like if I look at JCPenney, we've got really rich data across the different domains. How do we harness that rich data in a scalable way is what is important. It's not one time, right? Like I want to be able to harness that data to be able to provide that experience to our customers, to provide that recommendations, that personalization needs that they have, right? So making sure that it is scalable, and at the same time, data hygiene, data governance, which is like very important
Important.
for us. Focusing on those is how I would say that we have been building what we call enterprise data platform. And so building that data platform in a way that we are bringing in that data governance and data hygiene into the day in and day out implementation framework. That way, once done, it's available for us to be able to utilize it across the different domains, and it makes it much more easier for us to focus on personalization, focus on experience, focus on making sure that we have the right merchandise at the right place. So it's all of the above initiatives that I spoke about. Foundation being data is very important, and that's how we are trying to harness that insights from the rich data that we have.
And there's so much data. I mean, if we look back, the only data JCPenney's had on myself and my family, back four decades ago, was that we came in and bought something, what we bought. But today, it's everything from clicking off a TikTok video to the online purchases and why I didn't purchase. I mean, it's quite overwhelming. I mean, I think that's probably an understatement, but um, you're also embracing AI like everybody else,
Mhm.
and machine learning. Can you talk a little bit about where that's coming into play, why it's great or maybe not that great, and kind of does that have a CX role as well?
For sure, AI plays a huge role across. And this is something that I constantly, when I have conversations with my peers, we talk about AI and how AI can bring a lot to the table for all of us. JCPenney truly believes that AI can definitely help in efficiency, can definitely augment, right? Like it's not going to be a replacement for people. At the
Right.
end of the day, we've got to have our people drive everything that we are talking about, but it can augment our people to be able to make those efficiency focused areas. And at the same time, it can also help them focus on the right analysis of things instead of data mining or data crunching or like any of those mundane work
Mm.
that can be done, right? And at the same time, it can also help us focus on exceptions, right? You don't need to go through everything, but just focus on exceptions so that you can actually come up with like possible solves for things that we need to
Okay.
make happen. If I look at AI, ML, most of the implementations, third-party products that we have been implementing in the last couple of years, more than a couple of years, are AI, ML enabled.
Okay.
And so it is helping us because we have the data, because we are making sure that we are building a strong platform around the data that we have. We can utilize that for the AI, ML aspects of the different systems that we're implementing. And it can also solve a lot of the manual problems that we have
Right.
actually people focusing on. So it's a win-win in the sense it helps to integrate with the systems that we have, and it can talk to each other. And at the same time, it's also automating as much as possible while having that human element at the center of everything that we do.
Right. I mean, that ties back to the whole efficiency you mentioned early on.
Yeah. And on the other side, as a CIO, I also look at and say, how do I improve efficiency for my engineers,
Mhm.
right? It's not just about the business users alone that we are talking about. We are also talking about our engineers. So there are so many cool things that are available today, like whether it's a code review that I can use AI for. Can I use like the base code that can be written, obviously tested, but can I use it? Test case scenarios building, right? Like you don't have to manually do them, but you can have AI like help you with that. So there are lots of things that I can have my engineering associates focus on, and that can actually improve their efficiency, and they can get like a real quick start on things that they want to do in building the models, building whatever they are focused on. So I see it as like a win-win because it's for our business partners, business users, it's for our engineers, and at the end of the day, it's for our customers. So if you look at many of the systems that we are talking about, tools that we are talking about for our customers, the recommendations or like forecasting or like what you were talking about, Judy, before it used to be just your sales transactions, but now we have weather patterns, you have influences, you have like
Right.
different products coming into play that you don't even know about, right? Like how do we ensure we bring them all together to be able to provide that to the end customer? I think you can look at them at all different angles and utilize them.
And to the point of the engineer being able to take something mundane off their work list, that keeps them more engaged and more passionate about the whole omni-channel strategy. And, it's a hard world to keep workers these days, and to keep that productivity level up. So it's maybe a win-win-win-win, right?
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. And it also makes it interesting,
Right,
right? Because you keep learning. You keep learning. It's not like the same old way of doing
right.
things, but you keep learning.
Exactly. So now I want to jump a little bit over to the consumer world. There's just been so much written about the changing consumer. They're expecting more. They're demanding more. And they're not as loyal sometimes as they used to be. I mean, my mother never gave up her JCPenney card ever, but um, you know, today's consumer knows that there's so much more competition, right? So I'm wondering
Hmm.
what you guys are doing uh, to kind of like recruit the new generations of customers, right? Retain who you have, like us old legacy customers, and
Hmm.
yet you know, keep the balance in terms of what you want to be as a brand.
Hmm. Um, Great question, because I think that's what we have been focused on. The one word that I would say is, how do we show value to our customers, right? Because like you mentioned, Judy, our customers are very focused on the right products available at the right time when they want it, whether it's today in 2 hours or when they want it next week for some event, right?
Right,
Being available and showing that value to them when they actually need it. And at the same time, it's also our vision and mission that we had, and we kept talking about how do we show up in places where they need us.
right,
Making sure that we show the value while we show up is very important to us, and I think that's what we've been focused on when we say make it count, right? Like we want to make it count to our customers when we provide them with the different options they have, fashionable options that
right,
we have with our merchandise, and it's also available at wherever they want it to be, whether they can buy it online or pick up in store, or they can do a curbside, or they can go to a store and actually like touch and feel, because we
Right.
have a lot of our customers who are wanting to do that. So making sure that we are integrating all the systems in a way and building it in such a way that that integration is seamless for our customer, and they don't have to worry about thinking, should I go to the store or should I be online, or it should be seamless. And I think that's what has been our focus.
Right.
The other side of the puzzle for our customers is also about when they order it online, how soon can we deliver it, right?
Right.
Some of the investments that we have made in our supply chain area, like even a couple of weeks back, we had a grand opening of our Reno sorter, and that's like one of a kind, where we know for sure that's going to improve our efficiency, because it's going to deliver faster, because it's
Right.
computerized induction, it's sorting and packing. It helps for the customers to get their products sooner. It's bringing in efficiency within our own fulfillment center, because less time doing
Right.
training, less time learning, and less time actual work to be done, so they can be faster and efficient. So making sure that we are there for our customer and thinking through everything that connects the dots has been our focus, I would say, on this, Judy.
And when we talk about supply chain and the product delivery, I mean, that comes up with the consumer all the time. If they can't get it, I call it the Amazon curse. And it's kind of ironic because today, Amazon, I can't get anything overnight anymore, right? So,
No.
but I do find myself making a determination if I know I'm not going to get that product for 3 to 4 weeks, because I do want something right now. Um,
Yes.
but the thing I also want to bring up because of JCPenney is because I don't think it gets talked about enough. JCPenney has quality merchandise
Mm-hmm.
um, at an affordable price point. That's how I've always viewed them, in quality
Mm-hmm.
material, quality fashion. And today's world of fast fashion boggles my mind. And I have, 2 daughters who love fast fashion, right?
Awesome.
And it
Mm-hmm.
kills me though when, I'll be like, why didn't you wear that sweater you had? I don't wear, yeah, I'm not going to wear that again. And I'm thinking back to the day of when, mom and I were shopping for clothes that I was clearly going to wear many, many times in the next year or two, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm really just enthused about the fact that JCPenney is keeping that core, philosophy of value, high quality value. And I wish we had more time, but we're going to have to wrap up. I want to do a quick last question though. What advice or tips would you have for the younger, not in age, but in experience, a younger retail leader who is
Mm-hmm.
maybe, one quarter of the way on a career compared to yours? And if you look back, anything you would have done different or you wouldn't have focused on, anything like that.
Advice to an earlier Sherms,
Yeah, an
right?
early
That's how I
shot.
see it,
Yes.
right? That's a good way to look at it. I would say making sure that you are actually continuing to learn.
Right.
Don't just focus on, okay, I'm comfortable in this area and I want to stay here. Like retail is like huge, right? So there are so many things that you can learn. Continue to learn. Doesn't translate into you have to keep moving, but at the end of the day, continue to learn, and so that you can understand end to end, right? You
Right.
should be able to connect the dots. Even though you're in technology, if you don't understand the business,
Right.
it's not going to
Right.
actually have, you're not going to have that satisfaction.
Right.
So understand the business, then when you provide the solutions for what the problem statement is, you will feel a lot more better. So my one advice would be keep learning, keep trying new things, keep moving around to understand different parts of the business. In those days when I was still at Walmart, we used to do what we call eat what you cook,
Right.
which means that you need to go learn before you build something,
Right.
sit in the shoes of like the end user before you build something. We do something similar here at JCPenney, where you're spending the time to understand the problem statement. So we have a seat at the table to understand the problem statement and work together with our business and our product to come back with the solve for it.
Right.
So you're not sitting by yourself when somebody comes and tells you, this is what I want you to build. You are part of the solution. I want all of us to be able to do that. My advice to anyone starting fresh in retail is try to understand the business.
Right.
That's what would help you build the right solve for the problems that you're trying to solve.
Right. And as you mentioned, everyone's going to fail. And back in the early .com days, if you remember, people were failing more than they were succeeding. And yet they were learning so much. So every failure has a lesson that can be learned from. And I've always felt that, and to me, that whole adage, though, try not to make the same mistake twice. But
Mm-hmm.
I want to
Yes.
thank you so much for being here, Sharms.
Thank you, Judy. This was really great
It
talking to you.
was. To our listeners, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Networld Media Group. Check out retailcustomerexperience.com. There is a link on the homepage to our podcast page. You can catch up with all our other podcasts, sign up for our newsletter, and don't miss a podcast. And while you're there, check out the agenda for our upcoming ICX Summit happening this September in Charlotte. We did beg Shams to be there, Charm to be there, but she's a very busy woman. But we're going to try and get her on stage next year. Thank
For
you
sure.
again, Charms.
Thank you, Judy.
Have a great day.